Hello friends, India has entered another significant constitutional moment. As of April 16, 2026, Parliament convened a special three-day session to debate three major legislative proposals. The Constitution 131st Amendment Bill 2026, the Delimitation Bill 2026 and the Union Territories Laws Amendment Bill 2026. Together, these proposals seek to expand the Lok Sabha from 543 elected members to 850, redraw parliamentary and assembly constituencies, and enable implementation of one-third reservation for women beginning with the 2029 general elections. The proposals also effectively end a free zone delimitation that has lasted for decades. This has triggered intense political debate, particularly over whether the exercise might widen India's north-south divide. The discussion is not merely technical. It touches on representation, federalism, economic contribution, demographic trends, linguistic sensitivities, and political power. For some, delimitation is an overdue democratic correction. For others, it risks altering the delicate balance between India's regions. To understand the controversy, it is essential to examine what delimitation means, why it is necessary, how it might affect different regions, why southern states are concerned, whether ideological motivations are involved, whether protests could escalate into regional tensions, and what a balanced solution might look like. Delimitation refers to the periodic redrawing of electoral boundaries and redistribution of legislative seats to reflect changes in population. It ensures that representation in parliament and state assemblies remains aligned with demographic realities. The principle underlying delimitation is straightforward. Every citizen's vote should carry roughly equal value. India's constitution provides for delimitation under Article 81 and 82 for the Lok Sabha and Article 170 for state legislative assemblies. The process is conducted by a delimitation commission, an independent statutory body usually chaired by a retired Supreme Court judge and assisted by the Chief Election Commissioner and State Election Commissioners. Once the Commission finalizes its recommendations, they have the force of law and are ordinarily not subject to judicial review. This institutional design aims to shield the process from political interference. However, because delimitation determines political representation and electoral outcomes, it inevitably becomes politically sensitive. Changes in constituency boundaries can reshape political landscapes, influence party fortunes, and alter the balance of power between regions. India has carried out major delimitation exercises in 1952, 1963, 1973, and 2002. However, the last exercise based on population changes affecting interstate seat distribution occurred after the 1971 census. Subsequent constitutional amendments froze the allocation of seats among states. The 42nd Amendment in 1976 initially imposed the freeze to encourage population control measures. Later amendments extended this freeze until after 2026. The intention was to avoid penalizing states that successfully reduce population growth. However, over time, this freeze created disparities between states with rapidly growing populations and those with stabilized populations. The current exercise seeks to address these distortions. The primary reason is demographic change. India's population has more than doubled since 1971, but growth has not been uniform across regions. Northern and central states such as Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan experienced faster population growth. Southern states such as Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh achieved lower fertility rates through investments in education, healthcare, and family planning. As a result, constituency sizes vary widely. Some parliamentary constituencies in northern states represent nearly 3 million people, while several southern constituencies represent significantly fewer. This disparity undermines the democratic principle of equal representation. The freeze, introduced decades ago, initially served a useful purpose by encouraging population stabilization. However, over time it created distortions. Citizens in high population states became underrepresented, while citizens in low growth states enjoyed relatively greater representation. Another important factor is the implementation of the Women's Reservation Law passed in 2023. The law reserves one-third of seats in parliament and state assemblies for women. To implement this fairly, constituency boundaries must be redrawn. Without delimitation, rotating women's seats across constituencies would be difficult and potentially unfair. Expanding the Lok Sabha is also intended to improve governance. A larger parliament could reduce the number of citizens represented by each MP, making representation more responsive and accessible. India's population has grown dramatically, yet the size of parliament has remained unchanged for decades. Many democracies periodically adjust legislative representation. Regular readjustment helps maintain democratic fairness and ensures citizens across regions are equally represented. Therefore, proponents argue that delimitation is constitutionally overdue, democratically necessary, and practically unavoidable. The proposed expansion to 850 seats represents a major structural change. Government assurances suggest that no state will lose seats in absolute terms. Instead, most states would gain additional seats. However, while absolute representation may increase everywhere, relative influence may change. States with larger populations, particularly in northern India, are likely to gain more seats numerically. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan could see substantial increases. Southern states would also gain seats but at a slower pace. Western states such as Maharashtra and Gujarat may also see increases. Eastern states like West Bengal and Odisha would gain additional representation as well. Union territories would receive increased representation collectively. Within states, constituency boundaries would be redrawn to equalize population sizes. Urban areas experiencing rapid growth may gain more seats while rural boundaries may be adjusted. Reserved constituencies for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes would also be recalibrated. A larger parliament could improve representation but also create logistical challenges. Parliamentary procedures may need reforms to maintain efficiency. State assemblies would also expand, increasing costs but potentially improving governance at the grassroots level. While proponents emphasize fairness, critics worry about political consequences. If northern states gain greater numerical weight, policy priorities may shift accordingly. Issues such as agriculture, rural welfare, and population-heavy concerns may gain prominence. Economically advanced states worry about reduced influence in national decision making. These concerns highlight the tension between population-based representation and federal balance. Southern states argue that population-based delimitation penalizes them for successfully controlling population growth. They emphasize that they invested heavily in education, healthcare, and family planning, achieving lower fertility rates and better human development outcomes. These states also contribute significantly to national GDP, exports, and tax revenues. Leaders from southern states argue that political representation should not be based solely on population but should also consider economic contribution and governance performance. Another concern is the reliance on 2011 census data. Critics argue that newer demographic trends should be considered. They also express concern about the perceived lack of consultation with states before introducing the bills. Southern leaders fear that increased representation for northern states could weaken their bargaining power in fiscal and policy decisions. They worry about reduced influence over issues such as language policy, taxation, and resource allocation. These concerns reflect deeper anxieties about federal balance. Southern states fear that population-based redistribution may shift power towards regions with higher population growth, potentially altering political equilibrium. Some opposition leaders argue that delimitation could benefit parties strong in northern states. They claim this may indirectly support ideological agendas or political dominance. However, delimitation is constitutionally mandated and historically conducted under governments of different parties. Population-based representation is a long-standing democratic principle. Demographic shifts occurred naturally over decades rather than through deliberate policy. Political advantages may emerge for certain parties, but this is a consequence of demographic change rather than a designed ideological strategy. It is therefore important to distinguish between political impact and constitutional necessity. Framing delimitation solely as an ideological project risks oversimplifying a complex constitutional issue. A balanced approach requires focusing on fairness, transparency, and safeguards. Protests have emerged in southern states, including symbolic demonstrations and political mobilization. Historical comparisons are sometimes drawn with earlier regional agitations. To recall, the anti-Hindi agitations of 1965 remain among the most violent linguistic protests in independent India. Between January and February 1965, widespread riots engulfed the then Madras state with arson, looting, police firings, and lathi charges reported in at least 20 locations. The government deployed nearly 33,000 police personnel and 5,000 paramilitary forces to restore order. The official death toll stood at around 70, including 2 policemen, although unofficial estimates suggested fatalities could have reached as high as 500. The protests were largely bottom-up and student-driven, triggered by marches and dramatic acts of self-immolation, most notably that of Chinnasamy on January 25, which rapidly escalated into violent confrontations. While the DMK and other Dravidian parties provided ideological momentum, the agitation soon outpaced party control, marked by black flags, burning of Hindi textbooks and signboards, and clashes with Congress workers. At the heart of the unrest was a deeply felt cultural threat. The Official Languages Act of 1963 had set January 26, 1965 as the date Hindi would replace English as India's sole official language. This was widely perceived in Tamil Nadu as North Indian linguistic imperialism and an assault on Tamil identity, education, and employment opportunities. By contrast, the 2026 delimitation protests consciously echo the symbolism of 1965 black flags, Dravidian resistance narratives, and federalist rhetoric, but lack the same existential trigger, spontaneous escalation, and deadly consequences. As of now, the movement remains a disciplined political protest rather than a precursor to violence. While demonstrations may intensify through bunds or rail roko actions if the bills pass without meaningful safeguards, structural differences and India's evolved federal democracy make a repeat of 1965 scale violence unlikely, leaving dialogue as the decisive factor in the weeks ahead. Economic interdependence between regions further reduces the likelihood of widespread regional tensions. Southern economies rely heavily on workforce mobility from across India. Violence or hostility would harm local economies. Political incentives also favor negotiation. Parties are likely to channel opposition through democratic processes rather than confrontation. While protests may intensify, large-scale regional conflict appears unlikely. India's federal institutions provide mechanisms for dialogue and compromise. An ideal delimitation framework should balance population-based representation with federal fairness. Pure population-based allocation may create perceptions of imbalance, while freezing representation indefinitely would undermine democratic equality. A hybrid approach could include population as the primary factor while incorporating additional considerations such as economic contribution, human development, and geographical factors. Consultation with states is essential. A national consensus building mechanism involving state governments, opposition parties, and constitutional experts could help design a balanced formula. Expanding the Lok Sabha sufficiently could prevent any state from losing representation. Strengthening the Rajya Sabha's federal role could also offset shifts in the Lok Sabha. Fiscal federalism reforms may further address concerns. Performance-based grants and transparent allocation mechanisms could reassure states worried about declining influence. No state should feel penalized for performing better than other states in the fields of economic development or in keeping the fertility rates within ideal limits. Women's reservation should proceed alongside delimitation with safeguards ensuring fair distribution across regions and communities. In the long term, periodic delimitation based on updated census data should become routine. This would prevent distortions from building up over decades and reduce political tensions. Political convenience should give way to national interest. Delimitation is both necessary and sensitive. It seeks to restore equal representation in a rapidly changing country. However, it also raises concerns about regional balance, federal fairness, and political influence. The debate reflects deeper questions about how India balances population, development, and diversity. A carefully designed consultative approach can transform delimitation into an opportunity to strengthen democracy rather than widen divisions. Ultimately, the success of delimitation will depend on transparency, consensus, and fairness. If handled wisely, it can enhance representation and reinforce national unity. If rushed or perceived as unfair, it risks deepening regional anxieties. India's challenge is therefore not whether to undertake delimitation, but how to do so in a way that strengthens both democracy and federal harmony. Thank you for being with me. I shall come up with another video very soon. Bye bye.